The rain fell over Atlanta like the sky itself was grieving with me, heavy, relentless cold, each drop striking the pavement with the same force as the realization that had shattered my world earlier that morning. Streetlights blurred into long streaks of gold against the storm, and traffic hissed across the soaked roads. I stood there, motionless under a flickering awning, clutching the leather folder that held the last 10 years of my work. And the last piece of the woman I used to be. My name is Serena Caldwell, and today I learned that everything I had built, every late night, every sacrifice, every moment I thought I was rising, was being stolen from me by the two people I trusted the most. My husband and my boss. And the worst part? They didn't even try to hide it. The day had begun like any other. I arrived at Langford Dynamics before sunrise, like I always did, because excellence was not a luxury for women like me. It was a necessity. I brewed my coffee, organized my desk, and opened my laptop to continue refining the data reconstruction model I'd been developing for months. It wasn't just a project. It was the kind of innovation that could change the industry, the kind of work that should have earned me a promotion, or at least respect. By 10 a.m., my world began to unravel. Jordan, my husband of 6 years, called me. His voice trembled slightly, something I didn't notice at first because I was too focused on the numbers glowing across my screen. Serena, my father wants to see you in the conference room, now. His father, my boss. A man who had always smiled at me with polite disapproval, the kind that said, "You're good, but not good enough for my son or my company." I smoothed my blazer. I told myself not to overthink it. I told myself it could be about the project, maybe even recognition. I told myself things I needed to believe. But when I walked into the conference room, the first thing I saw was Naomi, my project partner, Jordan's cousin, standing beside Mr. Langford with her arms crossed and her eyes refusing to meet mine. Something in my chest tightened. "Serena," Mr. Langford began, not even offering me a seat. "We've reviewed the reports." Naomi placed a stack of printed pages on the table. My reports, my research, my work. Except they weren't credited to me. Naomi cleared her throat, finally looking up. "I'm sorry, Serena, but we've decided I'll be taking the lead on the data reconstruction model moving forward." For a moment the room fell silent, so quiet I could hear the rain striking the windows behind me. I blinked. Once, twice, 3 times. "You're taking the lead?" I repeated, my voice calm but my hands trembling. "Naomi, we built this model together. You know my work." "She's not taking it," Mr. Langford interrupted, his tone dismissive. "She owns it, as of today." The air left my lungs. "Owns it?" I echoed. "You can't be serious." He slid a document across the table toward me. "You signed a non-compete and an internal ownership agreement. Anything you develop here belongs to the company. And the person we appoint." "And you appoint her?" I whispered. "No," Naomi said softly. "Jordan did. My husband. The man I trusted. The man who held me at night. The man I loved. Jordan supported my proposal," she continued, fumbling with her words. "He said the company needs someone more, aligned with long-term family goals." Family goals. Those 2 words carved themselves into me like a blade. I took a slow breath, fighting the urge to scream. "What does that even mean?" Mr. Langford folded his arms behind his back. "It means you've always been talented, Serena. But Naomi is family. She understands our legacy, our future." My pulse thundered in my ears. "So do I," I said. But even as the words left my lips, I knew they didn't believe that. Maybe they never had. The door opened behind me. Jordan walked in. His face was pale, his eyes avoiding mine, his jaw tight. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't confused. He wasn't angry on my behalf. He already knew. "Serena," he said quietly, "please don't make this harder than it has to be." A cold wave washed through me. "Harder?" I repeated. "You just helped your cousin steal my life's work and I'm the one making things hard?" He took a step forward. It's not like that. We agreed. We? I cut in. Who is we? You and your father? You and Naomi? You and the family I have been bending myself backward to be part of? He closed his eyes and exhaled sharply, as if he were the victim of all this. You focus too much on work, Serena. Too much ambition. It's exhausting. We thought it would be better if Naomi took the lead and you stepped back for a while. My breath caught in my throat. You thought it would be better, I said slowly, if I became small. No one spoke. No one apologized. No one acknowledged the cruelty of it. That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not broke. Shifted. Because betrayal has a strange way of awakening a woman's truth. It burns away illusions. It sharpens the edges of the heart. It replaces softness with resolve. I looked at the three of them, Jordan, Naomi, and Mr. Langford, and realized they had no idea what they had just created. They didn't destroy me. They freed me. I straightened my shoulders, closed the folder in my arms, and turned toward the door. Jordan reached for me. Serena, wait. I stepped back from him. The contact felt poisonous. I gave this family everything, I said, my voice steady now. But what you forgot is that I built myself before I ever met any of you. You can steal my project. You can underestimate me. You can betray me. I paused, holding his gaze. But you will regret it. The room went still. With one last breath, I walked out, letting the storm outside swallow me whole, because they thought they were ending my story. But really, the storm outside didn't ease as I stepped out of Langford Dynamics. If anything, it grew harsher. Winds slicing through my coat, rain stinging my skin, thunder rolling like distant fury. But for the first time in years, I felt every hit. And for the first time in years, I didn't force myself to pretend it didn't hurt. Because pain was honest. Pain was real. Pain didn't lie to you the way people did. I walked to my car slowly, each step heavy and uneven. The leather folder in my hand felt like a coffin, one holding the last pieces of the woman I thought I had to be, obedient, strategic, composed, accommodating, endlessly grateful for doors I'd cracked open myself. But betrayal? Betrayal was a strange clarity. It didn't whisper. It screamed. By the time I reached my car, my fingers were trembling so violently I could barely lock the door behind me. I sat in the driver's seat, dropped the folder on the passenger side, and allowed myself to breathe, truly breathe, for the first time since the confrontation. My chest felt raw, like someone had reached inside and torn out what kept me human. Jordan. The name left my lips like a ghost. I rested my forehead against the steering wheel and closed my eyes. The tears I had been holding back finally broke free, sliding down my cheeks, hot and humiliating in the cold air of the car. Not because he stole my project, not because he didn't defend me, not even because he sided with his family, but because deep down, I realized something far more devastating. He had never believed in me. Not once. Not truly. A quiet knock on the window startled me. I jolted upright, but it was just an elderly man passing by, giving me a sympathetic nod before continuing along the sidewalk. Atlanta was full of ghosts of its own, people carrying storms inside themselves. I guessed I had just become one of them. I wiped my face, inhaled sharply, and forced my shaking hands to grip the steering wheel. Pull it together, Serena, I whispered. You don't get to fall apart. Not today. I started the engine, the radio coming alive with a gospel choir singing about deliverance. I didn't know whether to laugh or sob at the timing, so I simply let the music wash over me. But even as I drove home, one sentence repeated in my mind like a heartbeat. You will regret it. Not said out of rage, said out of truth. My house, our house, looked different that evening. Colder, quieter, like it knew something had shifted between its walls. I walked into the living room, dripping rainwater onto the hardwood floors. My reflection stared back at me from the darkened TV screen. A woman who looked like she had survived a war she didn't know she was fighting. A woman who looked awake. I tossed my keys onto the table. They hit the wood with a sharp, metallic clatter. My body felt drained, like my bones were made of regret. I headed upstairs to change into something dry, but halfway up the steps I heard the garage door open. Jordan was home. For a moment I froze. The storm inside me quieted, not out of fear, out of calculation. The front door opened. He stepped inside, shaking off his coat, running a hand through his damp hair. He didn't look guilty. He didn't look remorseful. He looked inconvenienced. "Serena," he said carefully, "we need to talk." I turned toward him slowly, gripping the railing to steady my breathing. "I'm sure we do," I replied. He dropped his bag and sighed like he was the one carrying a burden. "Look, today was messy. Dad shouldn't have handled it like that. Naomi shouldn't have blindsided you. But you have to understand, this decision wasn't personal." I laughed. A soft, broken sound. "Wasn't personal? Jordan, you took credit for my work, gave it to your cousin, and stood beside your father while he stripped me of everything I built." His jaw tightened. "You're being dramatic. No one stripped you of anything. You still have your job." I stared at him. He genuinely believed that. He genuinely couldn't see the violence in what he'd done. "Jordan," I said softly, "you didn't just betray my career. You betrayed me." He finally looked uncomfortable. "I didn't betray you," he insisted. "I'm trying to protect our future. My family wants stability. They want consistency. They were never sure you fit." Ah, there it was. The hidden, unspoken truth rising to the surface like oil in water. "You mean they never accepted me?" I said calmly. Silence. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. His eyes darted away. That told me everything. I felt something inside me begin to rearrange, like my heart was shifting its weight, preparing for a new rhythm. "I think you should sleep in the guest room tonight," I said. He blinked. "What?" "You heard me." He stepped closer. "Serena, don't do this." "Don't do what? Establish boundaries, claim dignity, expect loyalty?" His voice rose. "Can you stop twisting everything?" "I'm not twisting anything," I said, my tone steady. "For years, I made excuses for your family. For years, I shrank myself to avoid conflict. For years, I believed love meant compromise." I took a slow breath. "But today showed me what love really is." "And what's that?" he challenged. "Love is loyalty, and you've never had any for me." His face reddened with a mix of anger and fear. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "You're overreacting." "No, Jordan," I said softly. "I'm finally reacting." I stepped around him, headed toward the stairs, and looked back only once. "You made your choice today. Now I'm making mine." And with that, I went upstairs, closing the door on the life I once lived, and opening the door to the woman I was about to become. Because betrayal didn't ruin me. It rebuilt me. For the next 2 days, the house settled into an uncomfortable quiet. Jordan and I moved around each other like strangers, careful not to touch, not to speak more than necessary. Every time I heard his footsteps downstairs, the same truth echoed in my mind like a warning I could no longer ignore. If he could betray me once, he could do it again. And again. And again. But grief was slowly transforming into something far more dangerous. Clarity. On the morning of the 3rd day, I woke up before sunrise, something I had always done, only now it felt different. There was a strange calm beneath my ribs, a slow burning fire finally finding its shape. I stood before the bathroom mirror, staring at the reflection of a woman who no longer belonged to the version of life she had built. My curls framed my face like a crown I had forgotten I carried. My eyes, dark, steady, sharpened by betrayal, held a new kind of resolve. "I trusted the wrong people," I whispered, "but I won't make that mistake again." I got dressed, pulled my laptop into my bag, and headed out before Jordan even woke. I didn't go to Langford Dynamics. No, I drove to the one place where no one from Jordan's family would ever dare to follow me, the West End Innovation Hub, a community workspace where Black entrepreneurs, coders, and tech creators built entire futures from nothing but vision and grit. The building was buzzing even at 6:30 a.m. Young engineers, designers, and founders moved with the kind of energy I used to have, before the Langfords drained it from me. I found an open table near a window overlooking the city. The rain had finally cleared, leaving the morning sky a pale blue streaked with pink. For a moment, I simply breathed. Then, I opened my laptop. If Langford Dynamics wanted to steal my work, so be it. What they didn't realize was that the version Naomi took was incomplete, because I had never stopped working, never stopped improving. The true innovation wasn't in the files they stole, it was in the algorithm in my mind. And that part belonged only to me. My fingers flew across the keyboard, rewriting the code, refining the model, shaping it into something far more advanced than the watered-down version I had delivered to the company. Every click, every line of code, every adjustment felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Around 10 a.m., a familiar voice broke through my concentration. Well, damn, look who crawled out the ashes. I turned and saw Ariel Jones, my closest friend from college. Ariel, brilliant, outspoken, 5'2" with the energy of a full thunderstorm, was the last person to sugarcoat anything. She dropped her backpack on the chair opposite me and raised an eyebrow. "You look like somebody who just survived a house fire," she said. "In a way," I replied quietly. "I did." She narrowed her eyes. "You're going to tell me everything. But first, why does your face look like revenge made coffee for you this morning?" A faint, humorless smile touched my lips. "Because I'm done being underestimated. I'm done playing nice. And I'm done letting people write me out of my own story." Ariel's expression softened. "Serena, what happened?" I exhaled slowly. Then I told her everything. From the moment Mr. Langford announced Naomi was taking my project, to Jordan admitting he thought I was too ambitious, to the revelation that I had never truly been part of their family. By the time I finished, Ariel looked like she was ready to throw a chair through a window. "That little weasel of a husband," she muttered, "and his nepotism-infested family. Girl, we should burn that whole damn building down." I laughed despite myself. "Let's not go to jail today." "Fine. Then let's destroy them legally, morally, emotionally, spiritually." She leaned forward. "What's the plan?" I took a deep breath. "I'm building a new version of my model," I said. "Better, faster, more accurate. And when I'm done, I'll own it completely." Ariel's eyes gleamed. "So you're starting your own firm?" I hesitated. The idea had sparked in the back of my mind the moment betrayal entered the front door. "I don't know yet," I admitted. "But I'm not giving up my work, and I'm not going back to a place that doesn't value me." Ariel grinned like a wolf. "Good, because I know investors who actually want to fund Black women in tech. Real ones, ethical ones. If you're ready, I can make calls." My heart skipped. Investors, my own company, my own name on my own innovation. For the first time in days, I felt something other than pain, hope, fire, possibility. "I need time," I said. "But yes, start making calls." She winked. "Consider it done." At noon, my phone buzzed. A text message from Jordan. "We need to talk. Please come home." I stared at the screen, feeling nothing. No fear, no longing, no ache, just distance. I put the phone face down and kept working. Because while Jordan was busy salvaging the comfort of his old life, I was building the foundation of my new one. Lines of code turned into architecture. Architecture turned into innovation. Innovation turned into liberation. Hours passed without me noticing. By evening, I had fully rebuilt the model, sleeker, stronger, and legally mine. Naomi's stolen version was now obsolete. This wasn't just work. It was war. And I had just armed myself. When I got home that night, the lights were on. Jordan was pacing in the living room. The moment I walked in, he stopped. His expression shifted between relief and desperation. "Serena," he said, "thank God, I've been trying to reach you all day." I set my bag down and removed my coat calmly. "I know," I said, "I didn't feel like talking." He stepped forward. "Can we please fix this? I didn't mean for things to get this far." I held his gaze, cold, steady, unflinching. "You didn't mean for me to find out," I corrected. "That's all." His jaw clenched. "I made a mistake," he said. "But we're married. We can work through this." I tilted my head slightly. "You made a choice," I said softly. "Now I'm making one." His expression shifted. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, "I'm done saving a marriage you already destroyed." His breath caught. "You're leaving me?" he whispered. "No," I said. "You left me 3 days ago when you sided with your family." Silence swallowed the room. And for the first time, I felt powerful. Not because I was leaving something behind, but because I was walking toward something bigger. Something that belonged to me. Jordan didn't say anything at first. He just stared at me, his breathing uneven, his hands struggling to find something to hold onto, anything that could anchor him now that I was slipping out of the version of his life he had designed without me. "Serena," he finally whispered, "you're being extreme. We can fix this. I promise." I walked past him and placed my laptop bag on the dining table. Everything inside me felt precise, controlled, deliberate. There was no shouting, no breaking down, no emotional scrambling to make him understand. Because I no longer needed him to understand. I only needed him to move out of my way. "Jordan," I said calmly, "if you thought I would spend the rest of my life being grateful that your family allowed me to stand next to you, you're mistaken." He winced, as if the truth physically hurt him. "We can go to therapy," he tried. "No," I said simply. He blinked, confused. "No? No. Because therapy requires honesty, and you haven't given me that in years." His eyes flickered. Guilt, defensiveness, resentment, fear. He was spiraling, and I knew it. "Just tell me what you want," he pleaded. I met his gaze steadily. "I want my freedom," I said, "and my future back." His expression twisted. "And what about us?" "There is no us," I replied. "Not anymore." Jordan reached out like he was grabbing for the last edge of a cliff, but I stepped back. "Don't," I said. "You lost the right to touch me the moment you chose them." He swallowed hard, his throat bobbing. "Serena, please." But the begging didn't sway me. Because betrayal changes the sound of a man's voice, it becomes something distant, irrelevant, unrecognizable. "What will you do?" he asked, desperation leaking into every word. I picked up my laptop. "The one thing none of you ever expected," I said. "I will build something greater than anything your family has ever touched." He went pale. "Serena, no, don't start something you can't finish." I smiled, a slow, cold, confident curve of my lips. "I don't start what I can't finish. That's your family's specialty, not mine." He flinched. Then I walked upstairs, closed the bedroom door, and locked it. That night, while Jordan slept in the guest room, staring at the ceiling in terrified silence, I worked until dawn, refining my model, writing proposals, mapping out a blueprint for something far bigger than a revenge fantasy. A legacy. My legacy. The next morning, Jordan was gone by the time I came downstairs, likely hiding at his parents' house, looking for comfort and validation he would no longer get from me. Good. The silence he left behind was the most peaceful sound I had heard in months. I brewed coffee and sat at the kitchen table with my notebook, sketching out the framework of a company I didn't even have a name for yet. Ariel texted at 8:14 a.m. 5 investors interested. All Black-owned funds, all looking for a woman like you. When can you pitch? A slow smile spread across my lips. When can I pitch? That question alone was more respect than Langford Dynamics had ever given me. I typed back, "Give me 1 week. I need to build the architecture. Then we ignite." Ariel replied instantly. Queen behavior. Let's burn their empire with brilliance. My heart thudded. For the first time in forever, I wasn't just breathing, I was expanding. Later that day, Langford Dynamics. I didn't return to work the next morning, but they noticed my absence. At 11 a.m., my phone lit up with a call from Mr. Langford himself. I let it ring. He called again and again. On the fourth call, I answered. Serena. His voice came through, clipped and irritated. You were scheduled to present the algorithm status this morning. Where are you? I sipped my coffee. I won't be coming back, I said. Silence. Heavy, stunned silence. You're resigning? He asked sharply. Yes. You're making an emotional decision. No, I said. I'm making a strategic one. You have contractual obligations. I smiled slightly. And you breached moral ones. He exhaled through his nose like a man unused to defiance. Naomi cannot move forward without you. She doesn't understand the underlying data architecture. No, I corrected, enjoying the calm truth. She never did. He paused, his ego bending but not yet breaking. I trusted you, Serena. I expected professionalism. You expected obedience, I said. But I'm not your daughter-in-law anymore, and I was never your puppet. The silence shifted, now colder, more dangerous. What are you planning to do? He asked slowly. I looked out the window at the brightening sky. Something you should have thought twice about before betraying me. Serena, he warned, there are consequences. Yes, I agreed, and you're about to learn yours. I hung up. For the first time in my life, I realized something overwhelming. Freedom doesn't feel like running. Freedom feels like choosing. That night, Jordan returns. The garage opened at 9:30 p.m. Jordan walked in with red eyes and a stiff posture. He had been crying. Good. Serena, he began quietly. I didn't look up from my laptop. What do you want? I talked to Dad, he said, swallowing hard. He's furious. He said you're jeopardizing everything. I'm not jeopardizing anything, I replied. I'm simply reclaiming what's mine. He stepped closer. We can still fix this. I finally lifted my eyes. Jordan, I said gently, you're trying to save a version of life that never included me as an equal. That's why it's already dead. His face crumpled. What do you want me to do? He asked. I held his gaze long enough for him to feel the weight of the truth. Let me go. He froze. You're choosing your career over our marriage. No, I said quietly. I'm choosing myself over your betrayal. He didn't respond. He couldn't. And in that silence, the final thread between us snapped. The next morning, the first spark, I woke early. I put on a blazer that made me feel bulletproof, pulled my curls back, and headed to the West End Innovation Hub. By noon, I had something new in front of me, a prototype, a company name draft, a mission statement. What Langford stole from me was outdated now. What I was building next would make their entire system irrelevant. At 2:03 p.m., Ariel called, You ready, Serena? I looked down at my screen, my model, my vision, my rebirth. Yes, I said, I'm ready. Because this wasn't revenge anymore, it was evolution. The West End Innovation Hub hummed with quiet energy the next morning. Programmers, designers, and dreamers drifted through the wide, sunlit workspace, but my mind was far louder than anything around me. My laptop screen glowed with the blueprint of my new system. Cleaner, faster, and more advanced than anything Langford Dynamics could ever replicate. For months, I had allowed myself to be overshadowed, invisible inside a company where my ideas had been siphoned and renamed. But now my vision filled the room like light, impossible to ignore. Ariel rushed toward me, her curls bouncing with each step, her expression lit with mischief and adrenaline. Serena Caldwell, she announced dramatically. You just broke the internet. I blinked. What? She thrust her phone in front of me. A trending post on a tech forum read, Top analyst from Langford Dynamics resigns. Rumours say she's working on a project that could make their new model obsolete. My heartbeat slowed. then steadied into something powerful. So the whispers started, I said. Ariel smirked. Oh, baby, they're not whispers, they're earthquakes. I exhaled deeply. Good. Let them tremble. The investors' meeting at 10 a.m., we stepped into a glass-walled conference room overlooking the city skyline. 5 investors, all black, all successful, all people who knew what it meant to fight for space in rooms that weren't built for them, sat across from me. Their presence alone made my spine straighten. One of them, a poised woman named Dr. Liana Mercer, leaned forward. Serena, she said calmly, Ariel tells us you've built something revolutionary. Show us. I tapped my laptop. The screen came alive with the model's interface, sleek, intuitive, pulsing with potential. This, I began, is the cadence algorithm. It's designed to reconstruct corrupted or incomplete datasets in real time. What Langford Dynamics currently has is a slower, less accurate prototype. And yours? Another investor, Jamal Carter, asked. Mine learns, I said. It adapts, predicts, and corrects. It's self-evolving, and there's nothing like it in the market. Their eyes widened. I clicked again, running a live demonstration, feeding the model scrambled data, watching as it rebuilt patterns almost instantly. A soft gasp came from the table. Dr. Mercer folded her hands. Langford doesn't have this version? No, I said simply, and they never will. Ariel nodded proudly beside me. The room fell quiet as the investors exchanged looks, impressed, calculating, excited. Finally, Jamal spoke. How much do you need for the first development phase? My breath caught. This moment, this question, was something Langford had never once asked me. I need enough to scale, to build a small team, to protect the patent, and to launch a beta within 4 months. We want numbers, Dr. Mercer pressed gently. Be bold. I straightened. 2 million for 18% equity. Ariel's eyebrows shot up. The investors leaned in. Dr. Mercer smiled slowly. You're confident. I have to be, I answered. Women like me don't get second chances. I intend to make the first one count. The investors exchanged glances again, impressed ones. We'll discuss, Dr. Mercer said. Expect our decision within 24 hours. I nodded, feeling my pulse thrum with adrenaline. When we stepped out of the room, Ariel grabbed my arm and squealed, Serena! You didn't just pitch, you dominated. I laughed, breathless, overwhelmed, exhilarated. For the first time in months, I felt alive. At the same moment I was presenting my vision to investors, Naomi was standing in the executive conference room at Langford Dynamics, hands shaking, lipstick smudged, trying and failing to explain why the algorithm wouldn't run. Mr. Langford slammed his fist on the table. You told me Serena left everything ready. I thought she did, Naomi stuttered. But the architecture is broken. It's like she gave us a hollow shell. Mr. Langford leaned in, his face crimson with fury. She played you, he growled. No, she whispered, realizing it fully for the first time. She played all of us. Jordan sat at the far end of the table, shoulders stiff, eyes dull with anxiety. His father turned to him sharply. Fix this, call her, get her back, do whatever you have to do. Jordan swallowed hard. I don't think she's coming back, he said quietly. The call that afternoon, my phone rang. Jordan. I let it ring twice before answering. What do you want? His voice was panicked. Serena, my dad is furious. The project is falling apart. Naomi can't rebuild it. They need you. A small smile tugged at my lips. A dangerous one. So? I asked. So? He repeated, incredulous. Serena, this is your reputation too. You can't let everything collapse. It's already collapsed, I said. You just didn't notice until you were standing in the ruins. His breath hitched. You're doing this on purpose. I'm following purpose, I replied. There's a difference. Serena, he pleaded. You're going to destroy the company. I closed my eyes. No, I said calmly. I'm going to surpass it. And then, before he could respond, I hung up. Ariel, sitting across from me, burst into laughter. Girl, you didn't just hang up, you ended him. I shrugged, though amusement flickered in my chest. No, I'm just not his safety net anymore. That evening, the offer. At 8:17 p.m., my phone buzzed. Dr. Mercer, I answered immediately. Serena, she said smoothly, we've reviewed your proposal. My heart pounded. And? We want in. My breath caught. All 5 investors are offering the full $2 million. You choose whose capital you want, or you can accept all and expand your valuation. The choice is yours. I sank into my chair, overwhelmed. Congratulations, she continued. You've just become the CEO of something extraordinary. For a moment, I couldn't speak. My throat tightened, my vision blurred, my entire chest expanded with relief, triumph, disbelief, power. Finally, I whispered, "Thank you." "No," Dr. Mercer replied warmly. "Thank you. Women like you change industries." When the call ended, I sat in silence, letting it wash over me. Ariel leaned in. "So, CEO, what's next?" I looked at my laptop, my prototype, my future, and I smiled. "Tomorrow," I said. "Tomorrow we begin." Because revenge wasn't the goal anymore. It was the beginning. By the next morning, something in the air felt different. Not just around me, within me. It was a quiet electricity, a steady thrum beneath my ribs, the feeling of a woman who had finally stepped into a version of herself she had hidden for years. Not out of fear, but out of habit. Now the habit was broken. Now the woman was awake. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my blazer. I didn't look like someone who had been betrayed. I looked like someone who had learned how to turn betrayal into blueprint. My curls framed my face perfectly. My skin glowed, not with makeup, not with effort, but with purpose. I whispered to my reflection, Serena Caldwell, CEO. The title fit, like it had always been mine. The incorporation. Ariel burst through the doors of the West End Innovation Hub like a celebration in human form, carrying 2 cups of iced coffee and a folder packed with paperwork. "Guess what?" she announced loudly before even sitting. "The lawyers are ready. The registration can be filed today. Your company is about to have a name, an address, and a legal backbone." My breath caught. "This is really happening." Ariel placed a hand over mine. "It's already happened. You're just catching up." We spent the next hours finalizing everything. The corporate structure, the patent transfer documents, the development roadmap, the official trademark for the cadence algorithm. Then came the moment that made it all feel real. Ariel slid a final form toward me. "Company name," she said softly. "Whatever you want your legacy to be." I stared at the blank line for a long moment. Then, steadily, I wrote, Caldwell Innovate Systems, CIS. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't anger. It wasn't defiance. It was identity, ownership, a declaration. This time my work would carry my name. Meanwhile, Langford Dynamics falls apart. At that exact hour, chaos rippled through the glass halls of Langford Dynamics. Server rooms were overheating. The algorithm Naomi had stolen kept collapsing mid-run. Clients were calling, furious about delays. The board was demanding answers. And Naomi? She was in a corner office, trembling, clicking the same corrupted files over and over, praying for a miracle that would never come. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered, voice breaking. "Why won't it work?" Mr. Langford stormed into the room, slamming the door so hard the blinds rattled. "Because," he snapped, "Serena gave you scraps. You stole the spine but left the brain." Naomi's eyes filled with tears. "I thought she finished it." "She lied," he spat. "No," Jordan said quietly from the doorway. "She didn't lie. You assumed." Mr. Langford rounded on him. "Don't you dare blame this on me." Jordan's voice cracked. "She left me. She's gone, Dad. She won't answer my calls." "Then go to her," Mr. Langford barked. "Do something right for once." But Jordan didn't move. He couldn't, because for the first time in his life, he realized something. Serena wasn't coming back. She had outgrown every one of them. The first public announcement by evening, Caldwell Innovate Systems had a website, a logo, and a press release ready. Ariel grinned as she hit publish. Within minutes, my phone buzzed non-stop. TechVision magazine. Former Langford analyst launches her own AI startup, backed by top investors. Datasphere Daily. Serena Caldwell announces breakthrough algorithm. Industry watches closely. Black Women in Tech Forum. Queen moves only. Serena Caldwell just made history. Each notification felt like a heartbeat, a pulse of new life. I wasn't just surviving, I was rising. The meeting request. At 8:45 p.m., Jordan called again. I ignored it. Then he texted, "Please, we need to talk. It's important." I turned my phone face down. Some doors were not meant to be reopened. Minutes later, an email buzzed through. Subject: Urgent from Langford Dynamics. Legal team request. Meeting with Serena Caldwell. I laughed under my breath. They were panicking. Good. I wrote back one line. I'm unavailable indefinitely. SC and closed my laptop. The showdown. 2 days later, while working at the Innovation Hub, Ariel whispered sharply, "Serena, incoming." I looked up. Jordan stood in the entrance, searching, desperate, eyes red-rimmed. He spotted me and walked over quickly. "Serena," he began, out of breath, "we need your help." I didn't stand. I didn't soften. I didn't offer comfort or familiarity. "What do you want, Jordan?" He swallowed hard. "The project. It's falling apart. Clients are threatening lawsuits. Dad is furious. Naomi is breaking down. The board is demanding answers." "And why?" I asked slowly. "Should any of that matter to me?" His voice cracked. "Because you were part of this family." I shook my head. "No, I was a placeholder in your family's story, but now I'm writing my own." He stepped closer. "Just tell us how to fix it." I held up one hand. "You can't fix what was never yours to understand." His breath hitched. Tears filled his eyes. "I loved you," he whispered. "No," I said calmly. "You loved the version of me that made your life easier, not the woman standing in front of you." He flinched. Ariel folded her arms, glaring. "Boy, get your manipulative self out of here before you embarrass yourself in front of half the building." Jordan looked around. People were watching. He straightened, wiped his face, and stepped back. "Serena," he said softly, "I'm sorry." "I know," I replied, "but apologies don't rebuild trust, or careers, or souls." He nodded slowly, defeated. Then he walked away. And with every step he took, I felt lighter. The rise within 1 month. Caldwell Innovate Systems secured $2 million in funding. A full development team was hired. The Cadence algorithm entered beta testing. Tech magazines called me the one to watch. Investors praised my leadership. Universities invited me to speak. Government agencies requested proposals. And Langford Dynamics? They lost their biggest contract. Their stock dipped. Their credibility shattered. Naomi resigned. Mr. Langford faced a board investigation. And all of it happened without me ever lifting a vengeful hand. That's the thing about betrayal. It destroys the ones who commit it long before it ever touches the one betrayed. The final moment. 3 months later, I stood on a stage, addressing a crowd of innovators, founders, and young black women who looked at me the way I once looked at others, with hope, hunger, fire. I told my story, not the betrayal, not the pain, not the humiliation, but the rebirth, the rise, the reclaiming. "No one," I said, "can steal what you're willing to rebuild stronger, and no betrayal can bury a woman who chooses to rise." The audience erupted into applause, and as I stepped off the stage, Ariel hugged me tight. "You did it, Serena." "No," I whispered, smiling. "I'm just getting started." Because revenge wasn't the end of my story. It was only the beginning.